Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today on the Holtecast. Jack Grimsey alongside Robert Linsott as always. And in our second topic of the day, actually, we're going to be bringing in Conor Dowley from LFC Offside, another SB Nation blog, to talk about the some title talk at the top of the league. But we're going to start with a Swansea recap. Yeah, move on to the title talk. Just got some breaking news about a possible managerial candidate at Villa. We'll get to that. Some relegation scenarios, and finally we'll end with a match against Hull City this weekend. But we're going to start with Swansea, and it was a pretty tough loss, I think, really for Lambert, maybe a breaking point with the fans.
Yeah, I mean, was it a breaking point for you personally?
Yeah, I mean, once they went behind for the second time, really after, I guess, Shelby's goal, which was deflating, I think.
Hmm.
But they didn't. They attacked well after conceding the first, but then even after after Villa scored, they didn't look like they were ever going to score again.
Yeah, it was really disheartening. The first half was okay. The Shelby goal, it was a combination of stupidity from Vlar and Guzan. I think both of them were idiots in that situation.
Definitely.
But there's still a fair amount of luck in a goal like that. So, that's the goal where it happens and you go, well, shit, okay, and you pick yourself up from it. But the problem was the club didn't pick themselves up. They pretty much said, well, shit, and gave up for the rest of the match.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate that it's being bantered around, I guess, as goal of the season, because it's definitely not that. It was a great intuition, I guess, by Shelby to hit it, and he put it on frame and got really lucky, but I
Yeah,
don't know, it was 100% preventable. I think when, who is it? Boney was running right by Guzan, and then he throws his arms up and gets mad that he couldn't kick it away. If he would have just kicked it away, it would never have happened.
yeah, exactly.
And Boney wasn't even close to him, and Guzan's been really annoying me lately, I guess. I don't know why.
there were multiple instances in the match where Guzan was holding on to the ball for a lot longer than he needed to. It looked
He
like he
always does
was.
that. And like when you're parking the bus at the end of the game, whatever, but get on with it.
Yeah, exactly. It looked like Jose Mourinho 85th minute tactics, and instead, it was Aston Villa in the first half in a tie game. Why the hell are you holding the ball like that?
Yeah, seriously.
And it was exactly that. Vlar made a terrible outlet pass, but he only made that pass because with his, facing the goal, Guzan kicks it to him with little warning, and he's got no time to really do anything.
Yeah, it just came off as it didn't have enough air under it, really. There's
Yeah,
no loft, I guess, and it was unlucky that it fell to Shelby.
exactly. And I mean, unless it's, Guzan bombing up the field to Vyman for that one goal, that weird counterattack
Hmm.
goal this year, Philly get nothing off of their, off of Guzan sending outlet passes out anyway.
I mean, without Benteke, 100% chance of not getting the ball. It
Yeah,
was like
and
some games has been Villa's top pass combination, which is atrocious. But
but it just raised the question of why did you try to do anything? Why didn't you just put the ball on the ground and kick the crap out of it?
yeah, like a
Um,
normal goalie.
yeah, exactly. And someone will win it, and if it's the other team, it's fine because they're 75 yards away. And even John Joe Shelby isn't going to make a 75-yard shot.
No, no. I mean,
Um,
you have to have a lot of wind.
I mean, almost more frustratingly was Guzan standing there gawping at it.
Yeah,
This
not doing anything. If he's back on his line and jumps straight up, he's going to be able to save that.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I still think
He
that
has the height
given.
and the reach. I mean, it's like scientifically possible or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. He may mistime it or something, but
And it had the swerve on it because Shelby had to hit it just straight away. He hit it outside the boot kind of, and it was moving. But so it would have been tough to save somewhat regardless because it ended up in the top corner.
exactly, yeah, it would have been a tough save no matter what happened, but at least Guzan could have put himself in the position to save it, which he didn't.
Yeah, not just standing there at the top of the box, probably yelling at Vlar. I
Hmm.
mean,
Yeah, I mean, I did like Lambert's quote after the match.
I don't think you can blame Lambert for that particular instance.
No, oh heavens no. But I did like what Lambert said after the match because as infuriating as it was, Lambert essentially said, "Listen, the dude's been great for me for 2 years and he made one mistake." I'm not
Yeah,
going to
no
get into
kidding.
it.
I mean, and it wasn't the worst time to make a mistake either.
Yeah, and so I mean, it's absolutely infuriating. It's the kind of mistake that should never happen, but it's also the sort of mistake that Guzan, this is the first time we've ever seen him do anything quite that boneheaded.
Yeah, it's definitely the exception rather than the rule, and I definitely don't think we'll be seeing anything like it anytime soon.
Yeah, no, but undoubtedly one of the more
And
infuriating mistakes that Villa have made this year.
yeah, credit to Lambert for sticking with his guy too. I mean, I guess the other thing I'd say credit to Lambert for is for actually trying out different strikers a bit.
Mm-hmm. Did you like the lineup that he went with?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it was the worst choice.
Such resounding support.
Yeah, it wasn't. He didn't put three at the back.
Yeah, which almost shocked me. I think that's a pretty hard indictment of Lambert. That he made a smart decision, and I was surprised.
Well, I don't know. It would have been a really boneheaded decision to go three at the back.
Yeah. Were you a little surprised that Grant Holt didn't get the start?
Yeah, I was a little bit, but I think Gabby has really become one of Lambert's guys, and he trusts him a lot.
Mm-hmm. But what about Holt in place of, say, Vyman?
Yeah, I think that is a bit surprising because I mean obviously both of them are completely different players, bringing a lot a lot of different things to the table. I don't think he should have went with 4-3-3 though.
Mm-hmm.
You had to play Albrighton, but I think if you would have played a left side midfielder either farther back or started Gabby on the left with that specific task, I think
Yeah.
Al wasn't great.
Yeah, I don't know, it just, it struck me with Albrighton giving the service he has lately. And Albrighton hasn't really been a threat to score. Albrighton has been a threat to help other people
Not
score.
lately, but that's been his job. I mean, I think if you tell O'Brien, I'll give you the freedom to go and have some shots, get some shots away, you don't only have to stick down the wing and whip the ball. And I think that could be some of the thing is his role or his assigned role in that team.
Well, yeah, and I'm not even debating that. I think it's fine that he hasn't been getting a lot of shots lately. I just think given the way Lambert has been playing him lately, it would have made more sense to have Holt in the front line to begin with.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Sorry, I
Yeah,
didn't
no, no,
realize you
no.
were saying that. Just provide the service to the big guy because Grant Holt is an effective header of the ball.
Yeah, and he's a big dude. I mean, if you throw in 30 balls at his head, one or two of them are going to hit and go towards the goal. It gives
Yeah,
you.
and Swansea aren't an entirely big or physical team.
Yeah, so I mean, it shocked me given Lambert's love of Holt that we didn't see Holt in a situation that really seemed to me to call for him, which is rare.
Yeah, I guess it is pretty shocking actually from that standpoint.
But I don't know. It was on the one hand, it was irritating. I can understand why people are sort of very anti-Lambert at this point. And it was maddening. But at the same time, there's not much he can do about the fact that in the second half, those players looked like they did not give a crap.
Yeah, and maybe that comes down to his halftime team talk, and he's got to motivate the squad, and apparently didn't do that. But
Maybe he should let Shea give the halftime talks.
yeah, I'm
Some
sure
type
he
of
would
thing.
have loved to have given the halftime talk. Um, yeah, I think it's just about the end of Lambert's second year. It's if you're gonna make a change, I think you should make it now rather and let the guy try to at least know what he's gonna be working with as far as the summer budget and try to get to learn the squad because
Yeah,
you have more time for transition, obviously, than if the manager walks away, say September 1st or something.
yeah. At this point, I think it's too late to change before the season is over, though. Because if you bring in a new manager, even today, he's
Yeah,
got
but what
one
if
day.
Villa win at the weekend?
Yeah, exactly. But if they don't, I've heard a lot of people say, well, if they don't win, Lambert should be out no matter what. And it's
No,
like,
look at
okay,
Norwich.
that gives him 3 days to get a new manager and get that guy to prepare for Man City.
Yeah,
And
I don't think so
no,
because look at what's happened at Norwich. They're likely to go down, really.
Yeah,
More likely
absolutely.
than not, I think, going down at this point. We'll get to that more later, but
Um, I don't know. Is there really much you want to talk about that match? It was crap.
yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna watch it again. Hopefully, I mean,
Swansea fans.
maybe, but they
John Joe
didn't
Shelby.
even play exceptionally. They'll watch the clips, but I don't think that Swansea really played exceptionally well. I think a 2-2 draw could have been really a possibility.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And realistically, the 4-1 scoreline, that penalty at the end, I think Baker's an idiot for giving up that penalty, but you've seen that not called before.
Exactly,
So,
and there were two goals that were really entirely preventable. So I think if it's Villa having a good day at the back, which they haven't had seemingly in months, that really a point could have been possible, but it didn't happen. So
yeah,
what are you gonna do about
exactly.
it?
So, I don't know. I just don't think there's much left to talk about with that rancid match.
Yeah, I think we're all ready to move on from it as well. So it gets us actually to our next topic. We're bringing in Conor Dowley from LFC Offside, another SB Nation blog, and
Hey guys.
yeah. So how's it going, Connor?
Pretty good about you.
Doing all right.
Doing great. Yeah, I mean,
Probably a
we're
lot better
we're
now
fans of
than
we're fans of Aston Villa for years in a row. How could we be doing better?
Well, I haven't had to go through a relegation fight in quite a long time, but yeah, I can't imagine it's any fun for you guys.
No. But we're not here to talk relegation fight with you.
No, no. Fortunately, I get to talk about something a little bit happier.
Yeah, so
Possibly could
yeah,
be the. I think.
Well, either happier or infinitely more frustrating. Kind of depends on how things go for the next week.
Yeah, but looking at the season as a whole, coming into the season, I think that obviously, as Brendan Rodgers, Liverpool manager, said, the target was top four, and they've achieved the target and they've surpassed it. But really, sitting in first place, I think you're looking at other squads like Man City, Chelsea. Mourinho's getting to know the squad better, and he's gonna have the summer to work with next year again. Gonna have a bigger transfer budget and for whatnot. I think this might be one of Liverpool's best chances they may get in a while.
Yeah, especially with Manchester United doing so poorly this season. Taking them out of not just the top four picture, but the title picture, where everyone always just assumes that they're going to be involved until the very end, no matter what happens. And thank you very much, Dave Moyes. Your job is done.
Yeah,
But going into the season, I thought that Liverpool had a better chance of doing well than most people did. I saw a lot of good things towards the end of last season as far as the squad coming together and kind of getting a sense of the vision that Brendan Rodgers had. And it wasn't the Swansea possession football that we had seen from him before, the Swanzalona, as people had called it. It was much more aggressive. It was much more forward-thinking. He was willing to sit back and play on the counter when it was necessary or when it worked better, but otherwise Rodgers was willing to have his squad go all out and attack, and it worked for them.
yeah, and that's a lot of fun to watch.
But I wasn't sure if they would actually be able to hit top four this season because of the way some of the other squads around were shaping up. Before the season, everyone thought that Tottenham was going to be the next big thing, and that hasn't worked out so well. But Liverpool have very much taken advantage of the opportunity that they have, and to be in the position that they're in right now, even with the title not being in their hands anymore after this weekend, the squad and the fans should be proud and amazed at what's happened because this has been one heck of a ride so far.
Yeah, and they're going to have automatic Champions League qualification for next year, which is huge.
The first English squad to guarantee a trip to the group stage.
Yeah, so I think that's going to really help them hold on to Suarez, which will keep them.
Unless Real Madrid come around with that £90 million bid that people were talking about last week.
Yeah, when a team that very well may win the Champions League comes calling, especially one who's maybe won it as many times as Real Madrid, that's hard to say no, but I think what's really surprising me about Liverpool is the start they got off to. I didn't think they'd do as well without Suarez, and I think that really contributed to the great season they've had, learning how to play as a team and without their superstar player. And then when he's back in, it's just an added boost.
Mm-hmm. And Daniel Sturridge does not get enough credit for what he's done this season. He was a huge part of the start that Liverpool got off to. He's the second leading scorer in the league, behind only Suarez, who's been just ridiculous since he got back from the suspension. But nobody talks about Sturridge. He gets added on as an afterthought when people talk about Liverpool or the best players in the league, but he's been right up there with everybody all season long. And he's been a huge part of how Liverpool have played their game up top because he and Suarez work so well together.
I think if England succeed in the World Cup, it will be in no small part to Daniel Sturridge. So maybe then he'll start getting a bit more recognition at least. I think he scores at least 2 goals even if they don't go through the group stage.
I would be willing to bet that as far as the end of the group stage goes, Daniel Sturridge is in the Golden Boot conversation. Whether or not that continues on past that obviously depends on whether or not England advance. But I think that at least up to that stage, he'll be one of the best players of the World Cup.
Definitely, that's not unreasonable to say at all.
One of the things that I've been hearing, a lot of people using it as sort of a giving Liverpool fans crap thing, but I think there's at least a fair amount of truth to it, is the idea that if not this year, then when for Liverpool? Do you get that sense as a Liverpool supporter?
I do and I don't. I think that the squad is built in a way that they'll be able to compete better over the next few years than a lot of people are thinking that they are, especially with the ability to add to what's here. It's not an old squad once you get outside of Gerrard and maybe Glenn Johnson, who it wouldn't shock me to see if Johnson gets sold this summer because his contract only has 1 more year on it. But the Liverpool squad is in a place where they could be, even if they don't win another title in the next 5 years, or win a title in the next 5 years since they haven't won one yet, I think they'll at least be in the conversation over that amount of time, as long as they can keep this momentum going and keep Brendan Rodgers and hopefully hold on to Luis Suarez among other players, and just let the squad grow, let the squad get better, and see what happens. I think they could surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, and Connor, I don't think winning titles is the only way to measure success. Look at sustainability, and with Arsenal and Arsene Wenger, Arsenal fans clamoring for his head. I think if they replace him, they would be doing a great disservice to their fans. I mean, their fans I know some Arsenal fans are kind of picky, but really just being in the Champions League for that long in a row and running a profit, I guess, which is probably something the new Liverpool owners want to do. And like you said, being in the title race, there's still great things to look forward to, and I think Liverpool could see some FA Cup success as well. I think they could win the FA Cup next year, maybe if they say they want to go for that, we're going to finish top 4 anyways, United out of the picture. And yeah, I guess back to Arsenal, like Spurs fans have to be incredibly jealous of that. Their club seems like it's in constant turmoil, kind of like a Villa that's just higher up the table, who has more money. Recently.
That's a pretty good comparison, actually, especially with some of the stuff that we've seen Dan Levy pull over the years.
Yeah. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about, though, today was, chances of winning this title here. City have 3 games, or 3 matches left. You guys have 2. Chelsea have 2. Win out, and Chelsea are eliminated. If everyone wins out and Chelsea are eliminated, then it comes down to City and you guys based on goal differential, which you probably end up losing down to.
Yeah, we'd have to win our next 2 matches by a combined scoreline of something like 16-0, and even that might not be enough.
16-0 seems doable. You're playing Villa for all of your next 2 matches, right?
If only.
Or Norwich. Liverpool do the business in Norwich as well.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Well, not so much in the last Norwich match.
No.
Scary.
Still 3 goals, but yeah.
So
they had more things to look forward to, like Chelsea, but...
I guess the question is, after the loss to Chelsea, a lot of people started saying it's now in Man City's hands, which is true. It's in their hands. They can win out. But it seems like it's asking a lot to ask them to go flawless for the rest of, the last 3 matches of the season. What do you think? Do they have it in them to go flawless? Are Liverpool the underdogs now, or do you think Liverpool are still in control?
Well, if you look at some of the odds that are running around the internet right now, specifically Michael Cayley over at Cartilage Free Captain, he's done some great statistical work over the course of this season. I think he has Manchester City at 49% and Liverpool at either 45 or 46% to win the title. I mean, that's basically a coin flip at this point, and that's without even considering the fact that, City does have that extra match. They do have that extra bit of pressure. City's matches against Everton and West Ham are not going to be easy. Especially everyone's pointing at this match.
Well, good thing the other match is against Villa.
I noticed that you conspicuously left out Villa from the easy part.
I was hoping you might ignore that, but
Yeah, no, you're right.
Anyway.
I mean, they should trounce Villa. But
No
no,
comment,
you're right.
no
So
comment.
the other 2 remaining matches aren't going to be easy.
Yeah, everyone's pointing at the Everton match that is going to be the one that City's going to trip on. I honestly think it could be the West Ham match. With the way that they've been playing lately, I think that City are going to have a hard time, breaking through and holding off some of what West Ham have been doing. They haven't been in the greatest of form, but as far as a style matchup goes, that could be a pretty tough task for City. And I don't see West Ham winning that, but I could easily see them getting a draw out of that match, and then it's right back in Liverpool's hands as long as they can get past Crystal Palace and Newcastle. And Palace isn't going to be an easy task for Liverpool with the way that Pulis has been playing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it'll be a tough task regardless. As a neutral viewer, I have to say the outcome of the Chelsea-Liverpool match last weekend was exactly what we all wanted.
Yeah, a little too perfect. Maybe you think the match was fixed? No, I'm just kidding.
I hated that match so much. So much.
But as a neutral, if you
Atletico got revenge for you.
Yes, they did. Thanks, Simeone.
But I mean,
thanks to
it's
the
great
players' mothers for giving them big ball. Sorry, Robert.
That's awesome.
No, it's all right.
Awesome.
We now get to see an actual, honest-to-God title chase, which would
First
be
time in a while.
Yeah, I mean, compared to last season or the season before, it's kind of refreshing to get to see that. Liverpool's defense has been the biggest problem lately. Can they hold up in the last 2 matches?
Can Gerrard's studs and his cleats hold up for the next 2 matches?
Oh, you had to go there. You had to go there, Jack. Come on now. Don't do me like that.
I like a lot of players in Liverpool squad, but Gerrard's not one of them.
I think that the issues with the defense have been kind of overstated. Yes, there have been problems with letting goals through. A lot of people point at Martin Skrtel and whoever winds up partnering him for that. I actually don't think that they've been as much of a problem as Glenn Johnson has been, and as the Liverpool fans who are watching this and listening to this are about to hate me so much. John Flanagan has been a problem too. He's been great at times this year, but over the last month or so, he has not been playing very well, in my opinion. And that has cost Liverpool at a number of occasions over the course of the season while he's been playing.
Yeah,
I think that's happening. That happens to a lot of young players near the end of the season if they have to play a lot. It's fatigue and also not necessarily knowing what it's like being in a title chase, I guess you could say. But yeah, he's been good. I think really you can't overstate the impact that the absence of Henderson has had. I think Henderson, Liverpool's midfield, I don't really think of Liverpool's defense as being bad. I think of them as having no midfield, and that's what makes them give up goals sometimes.
So when Steven Gerrard first got moved back to defensive midfielder, as you guys experienced because the last match against Villa was right around that time, it was a disaster. Steven Gerrard is not a defensive midfielder. He is not a defensive midfielder in any way, shape, or form.
He's more of an attacking midfielder.
Exactly. And
more than a defensive, I guess.
But after he'd been playing there for a little while, especially around the Tottenham and Arsenal games that happened after that, it started to work well for the squad. The key is that Jordan Henderson has been supporting Gerrard in the defensive areas of midfield with every ounce of his being as a football player. And as much as I love Joe Allen and Lucas Leiva, they haven't been able to do that nearly as well as Henderson was. And without that extra shield, Gerrard has been struggling so much in that defensive midfield role that it is, we saw it against Chelsea. He was the only player within 10 yards of Demba Ba when he fell, and Demba Ba got free through on goal. If Henderson had been partnered with him in midfield instead of Lucas, I love Lucas, but he doesn't have the speed that he used to. If Henderson was on the field instead of Lucas, I think Ba might have been caught or at least put under more pressure than he was.
Definitely. I think actually what would be good for England would be a midfield pairing of Henderson and Delph with maybe possibly Wilshere in there, maybe with a true defensive mid behind them. But yeah, Henderson's really brings a lot of energy, and he's a good footballer.
Yeah, I think Henderson deserves a lot more credit than he's getting, and
I think he gets a lot of flack because
while he's been out really proved that.
I think he gets a lot of flack because when he joined, it wasn't for cheap. And he didn't really have a great season, but
they spent
really
too much money
to
bring him in, and then Kenny Dalglish stuck him out on the right wing for no reason at all. And Henderson's not a winger at all, in any way, shape, or form.
No, that happens to a lot of players that sometimes their career development also stunted because of managers, but he seems to be doing well now.
So before we wrap this up, we have to ask the inevitable question here, because we've got to eventually move on to the other side of the table, the less fun side of the table. But the inevitable question that you had to have been expecting: how do you think it plays out? And don't worry, if you predict a Liverpool win, we won't tell anyone if you curse it.
Well, I already know there's a few other Liverpool fans watching this because I've gotten about 3 emails about it so far. But I'm not going to say one way or the other because at this point I honestly don't know. But I believe it's probably going to go down to the last 10 or 15 minutes of the last match day before we actually know who's going to win the title. I think it's going to go all the way down to the wire.
All right. Well, that's
who's your pick, Robert?
I said it on Across the Pond on Monday. I think it's Liverpool. I don't see them slipping up, and I do see, all it takes is one draw for Man City to knock themselves out of this. And I could see that happening.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. 3 games, 3 chances, I guess. I don't know. I picked City before the season, so they're still in it. Got to stick with them, I think.
That makes absolute sense. But yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sorry we don't have longer to spend on the top of the table, but we have to go back to our hovel at the bottom.
We're glad you and your cat could join us.
I, for one, hope that you guys stay up. The Premier League wouldn't be the same without Villa, and you guys having to cover the championship probably wouldn't be nearly as much fun.
Probably, definitely not as much fun at all.
we could hang out with the Lion of Vienna suite folks all the time.
Poor Bolton.
Well, thank you again so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, Connor.
Yeah, not a problem. Take care, guys.
Yeah, have a good one. All right. Well, thanks so much to Connor for joining us. I mean, that was a joy.
And all the Liverpool fans still here. You can stick around for the rest of it if you want.
It's weird seeing Liverpool at the top of the table, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I think the weirdest thing is that Arsenal spent the most time at the top of the table this year, and they're not going to win it. I think one thing I guess I wanted to mention too, Connor, but forgot, was that if Liverpool win the title this year, it will kind of be in a Manchester United fashion, which I think would even anger the United fans more. Just kind of getting up there, hanging around, and then just making a late season surge and tipping it right at the end.
Yeah, but by late season surge, you mean since December. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, not leading from the off, though. Or making a second half run, then going behind, or kind of getting the awesome, and then...
Yeah, I mean...
I think the only way City win it is if Aguero on the final day in the 94th or something. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Just, oh God.
I
You
want
mean the same?
Jovetic to score like 100 goals and at
You
the end
mean
of
the
the
same way
season.
that City won the title a couple of years ago,
Yeah, yeah,
going down
just
to literally the last minute?
yeah. Thanks, Jerry Barton.
uh,
You can't even script that, but
no. So you want to move on to our breaking news next?
yeah. Breaking news, actually.
We need some
Whoa.
breaking news music, sadly.
Beep 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 beep. Yeah. So apparently, we just mentioned it briefly, and we're gonna have. Did something go up on the site? Or we having something go up
Yep,
on the
yep.
site?
We do have an article up on the site now, so if you're listening along live, you can go ahead and read that.
Yeah, it's apparently the news is Villa want Gianfranco Zola to replace Paul Lambert, and really, I think that's a great idea because why not?
At this point, does anyone want to see Lambert around for another year except for Paul Lambert?
I don't think keeping Lambert around for a year and letting him leave is the worst thing ever. He knew he had the job to do for the 3 years. He knew what was required, but I mean the situation I think has changed. They've amortized a lot of wages. They've really spent nothing almost, as far as I can tell. Get rid of a few players this summer, and I think they could have a decent transfer budget, which is really, if you come in and you bring a new manager and you don't give him a decent chunk of change, I don't think that's fair to him.
Yeah, I would agree.
As long as you tell him if you're bringing in players, you have to be able to get rid of some of the old players that you're not going to use. We can't have people sitting around picking up checks every week
Yeah.
for thousands of pounds.
All right, so you just said you think Gianfranco Zola would be a great idea, and I know you looked up the numbers, so fill us in a little bit on his managerial career.
Yeah, okay, so he's a former Chelsea player, a forward at Chelsea. In 229 appearances for that club, he scored 59 goals. And I think he had 10 goals and 35 caps for Italy, so well respected on the international level. And most recently, he managed Watford, and before that, he was at West Ham. At West Ham, he was there from 2008 to 2010. In 2008-9 season, they finished 9th. 2009-10, they finished 17th, and they sacked him, replaced him with Avram Grant. And at Watford, he was there from 2011 to 2013, so again for just 2 seasons, but his record was considerably better. At West Ham, his record in 80 games, 23 wins, 21 draws, and 36 losses, for a win percent just under 29. At Watford, which they were in the championship, and last year they finished 3rd, which was an
So close.
improvement from 11th. They had a late season collapse, lost the automatic promotion to Hull actually, didn't do well in the promotion playoffs. What they lost to Palace in the final.
Yeah.
Zaha just dominated. But anyways, at Watford in 75 games played, they won 33, lost 15, or drew 15 and lost 27 for a win percent of 44. And Lambert at Aston Villa so far, 84 games, 26 wins, 19 losses, and 19 draws and 39 losses, I'm sorry, for a win percentage just under 31. So, I mean, I think maybe a second stint in the Premier League could bring better than his first. I think he's learned some at Watford.
Yeah, I think he could give a real boost. I mean, you look at that win percentage, and certainly after the past few years we've had, you're salivating at 33, 15, and 27.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think he can bring something to this club that would be new. He's another young manager, so he's not really proven, sort of like Lambert in that mold. And realistically speaking, he's actually less of a proven manager than Lambert is. Because Lambert had
Lambert's
those
been
back-to-back
managing longer.
promotions and a half-decent season for his first season in the Premier League with Norwich.
Definitely, yeah. I think you can't, like, Lambert's win percent at Norwich was close to 49%, and going through multiple divisions obviously is going to bump it up, but you can't really take away what he did his first season at Norwich, keeping them in the Premier League. He did a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. His first Premier League season at Norwich.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, going up through the leagues is going to bump your win percentage up a little bit because, it's easier competition. That said, you have to counteract that with the fact that a team that goes from League One to the Championship is not expected to do well the next year.
No, but
And a team that
just
goes from-
considering back-to-back promotions is all. Not considering that he took the squad. Still, Grant Holt from League One goes to the Championship and then takes Grant Holt to the Premier League again, and he was effective for him,
Yeah, exactly. So, but that said, I think you know, it may be a matter of maybe keeping Lambert isn't a terrible football decision. It may be a terrible public relations decision at this point with the fans.
Yeah, and you had a post on it earlier in the week that club's PR keeps annoying the fans.
Yeah, and it's, they're kind of dumb about this. They don't really seem to understand how the fans are thinking. And, keeping Lambert around, given how much fans right now hate the guy, could be suicidal for the club.
It could.
Even if they do stay up, there's a very plausible situation in which Villa lose out and still remain in the Premier League.
Yeah, on 35.
Yeah, and if you
could
keep
be as low
Lambert,
as 17th.
Yeah, if you keep Lambert after losing 4 in a row to end the season,
Losing 8 out of 9.
Yeah, if you keep him after that, you are begging for fans to just riot.
Fair enough, go for it, fans.
Yeah, at some point you have to hit the point, where you go no more. But so maybe from a footballing perspective, Zola isn't a better option than Lambert.
No, not like it's not like you're saying, oh, we're gonna bring in Jurgen Klopp or something,
But from a public relations perspective, it makes a lot of sense.
And better than another manager we've linked with, who is David Moyes.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's definitely it'd be a more positive choice.
Yeah, you get the fans excited about a new manager. You get the fans excited about a name that they've watched be really good in recent memory on the pitch.
Yeah, and playing exciting football. Managing at Watford is kind of different just because of their ownership. If you don't know, they own, I don't know, who is it in the second league in Spain, and also Udinese, and I think even maybe a lower English team or something. But they always loan their players out to one another, so it's not like doing really traditional transfer work in the transfer market, I guess. So that would be something interesting as well. I think he'd have a different philosophy than Lambert would, of bringing in just cheap players, but it would be similar in the way that I think he would try to pluck players from the continent more, cheaper players, still young players.
Yeah, absolutely. And we should emphasize there is very little basis to actually believe this rumor at this point. But it's an interesting one to talk about.
Yeah, and just for the reason of that, it gets you just thinking about other managerial candidates as well.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe really who you would like to see in at Villa. And I think with something that could be said about Lambert that's good is I think the youth system has been given more of a chance, but I still think players from the youth academy need to play more. But buying young players, I think, is a sustainable strategy for both getting results and moving up the table and staying in the division and saving a bit of wages.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that people asked us on Twitter, and I think this sort of naturally segs well with the idea of a new manager, what sorts of realistic transfer options do you see available for this club this summer? And I think it's easier at this point to focus on who do you see leaving the club.
Yeah, I think so. We just saw Chicharito and Lewis Holte be linked with Villa, and I don't think there's really much in that at all, because those players they're going to cost a lot of money for fees. Maybe around 10 million each, which isn't a ton of money, but it'd be Lambert's 2 biggest transfers,
Mm-hmm.
and they're also on a lot of wages, so
yeah,
it's really hard to tell.
I suppose the question becomes, about a week ago, Lambert was saying, A, he will be back next year, and B, when he is back, he's going to need more money. And if he wasn't just blowing smoke out his butt, and there's any truth to it that he's essentially telling Lerner, listen, I need more money or you're not keeping me around. If there's some truth to that. You could see a player like a Chicharito or a Holt be brought in. Maybe not both of them, but you could see one of them being brought in.
I could see a decently big name that's still pretty young and a good talent, proven Premier League player, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not, it's an expensive signing, but it's not a reckless signing.
No, not at all. Especially because if you look a bit back, you look at players like Stuart Downing and Ashley Young, they were brought in for decent fees, but they developed well, and the club brought in more money than they spent. So I think we could see that happening more at Villa going down the line, as long as the players develop to be good and someone else actually wants them.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they don't, it's hard to see Chicharito being worse than what he is now. And what he is now
definitely
it's an improvement over what Villa have.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I like the idea of Holtby a lot more than Chicharito because, again, I don't think you should spend that much money on the money on a striker. I think a Cam would do a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And Chicharito's like a Darren Bent, basically. He's a poacher. He's offside all the time.
Yeah.
He's not going to bring down any headers from Guzen's goal kick. He's good. He's good speed, good agility, pacing, a great finisher, and actually a really good header of the ball considering his stature. But I mean, yeah, he would be an upgrade on what Villa have. But unless you saw another striker leave, because Vyman and Egbanlahor actually are strikers,
Mm-hmm.
not wingers. So please, bring in a winger. I think a left winger, maybe Jack Grealish.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly could be an improvement. Up for that League One Player of the Month award.
Yeah, credit to him. That's awesome. I hope he gets a chance, at least in the preseason, to show what he can do next season. So
Yeah, let's talk more about this in the next couple of weeks, but just snap judgment. You can sell one Villa player this summer. Who do you send off?
ooh, that's tough.
And within realistic thought, I mean,
I I don't know if you're going to bring in midfield help. I think El Ahmadi.
you sell off El Ahmadi
Yeah,
and try to get 2 or 3
and
midfielders
El
to take.
Ahmadi hasn't been bad. Well, I don't know. You can't really think you're going to be able to sell Tanev or Luna or Silla or
Yeah, I
I
did
don't know.
say
I think I want to see more of Libor Kozak. I really like Libor Kozak. He did a great job for Villa in Benteke's first absence, and he'll be back for the start of next season, which is why I don't think you totally need a striker. I don't want to see Grant Holt brought in.
Would you sell off Andy or Gabby if you could get an offer?
I don't think you can sell Gabby.
No, I think you're right. That would probably be suicide again from the. But what about Andy? Would you sell him this summer?
Probably not, because I think if maybe a new manager tried a different formation, really, I think Vyman's talents could be used maybe in some sort of a 4-4-2, maybe some sort of a tighter 4-3-3 maybe, or a 4-3-1-2. He could be played as a center forward or something. I think there's still a lot we could see from Vyman.
Okay, yeah.
And
Alrighty.
obviously no players really are on massive wages, so it's not entirely hurting the club, especially because I don't think if you're selling Vyman, you're not going to fetch more than $5 million for him, I don't think.
Yeah, and I suppose the real true answer is if we get rid of anyone this summer, it should be a Darren Bent or a Shea Given. Or
Yeah.
yeah. Alrighty. So that's
Is Shea
enough
Given
for-
collecting double wages for being a player and a manager now?
I wondered that. I want to know.
I think it's fine if he's earning his money now.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully.
But I mean, he wants to keep playing, which is kind of a shame, given how much the team seems to like him. I was kind of hoping we'd see him as a coach for a while, but you know.
Yeah, but he could just get a bit of experience now, go play another year, decide time to hang him up. I'm sure like he's been great at his time at Villa. I'm sure the club could find a way, possibly depending who the manager is, get him back in the setup.
All
Or
right.
somewhere in the youth setup, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, we've kind of spent a lot of time on that, but we're gonna get ahead to relegation scenarios. And last weekend, Cardiff got shelled by Sunderland. I think Cardiff are sunk for sure. Norwich really just blasted by United 4-0, and Fulham had a 2-0 lead, but blew it to Hull. Hull stormed back and leveled it at 2, take the draw, and I think that's really going to be a big problem for Fulham actually. But Robert's been doing a lot of math lately on this and knows a lot more about the situations, especially what I want to focus on, the situations that will save Villa this weekend.
Yeah, there's to my eyes, there's 2 ways that Villa can be saved this weekend. The first is if they win, hit 38 points and they are safe.
That's our preferred scenario. Everyone on 7,500 endorses that. We want to see that happen.
Yeah, at that point, Norwich could tie us on points, but their goal differential is going to leave them behind. And
likely.
Fulham and Cardiff could not tie us on points. So win this weekend, and Villa are safe.
Yeah.
There's another scenario this weekend that would lead to Villa safety, though. If Chelsea, Stoke, and Newcastle can win, then
And
Villa will be
who are
safe.
they playing?
It is Chelsea versus Norwich, which seems like something that should happen, and it's at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, Norwich home to Arsenal the final game. What's the odds for Norwich? 17-1 to beat Chelsea, right?
Something like that. I haven't looked.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do an update for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's
With
really ridiculous though. It's not
with
even
the
close.
odds. Let's see. Yeah, 17-1 for Norwich right now.
And I think Chelsea coming off that loss in the Champions League, I think they're gonna give a beat down to Norwich.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So,
Or
in
they
this
just
three-part
care.
scenario, we can absolutely see Chelsea beating Norwich at Stamford Bridge this weekend. Totally doable. The next one we actually care about is Fulham at Stoke. We want Stoke to win.
And Stoke win a lot at home, so it's definitely possible. So, come on, Stoke.
They do. And then the final bit of this is Cardiff at Newcastle. We're rooting for Newcastle. And
Newcastle though lately, come on.
As much as Newcastle, as Cardiff are bad, Newcastle are worse lately. If you feel bad about the way Villa are right now, go look at Newcastle's recent form, and suddenly you'll be seeing sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, I mean, except they'll be getting a lot more money at the end of the season than Villa, but yeah.
But that said, now that I actually look at this, we don't even need Newcastle to win. We simply need a draw, because a draw means that Cardiff would top out at 35 points.
So they,
34
regardless,
points.
they're going to need a lot of help from everyone, even if they win both their matches, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. They pretty much need everyone else to lose out.
Especially if they don't win, they're done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
as you said.
And actually, again, looking at this in my head, I don't know why I didn't think of this. I just instantly went to the loss. If Stoke can get a draw, Fulham
Yeah, I was thinking that.
below Villa. So, to revise what I said earlier, you're rooting for Chelsea to win, you're rooting for Stoke to get a win or a draw, and you're rooting for Newcastle to get a win or a draw. If some combination of those things happen, Villa are safe.
I think the odds probably would only in total be about 5-1 on that.
Yeah, it's
thinking if Chelsea are that big of favorites, and then the double chance win or draw shouldn't really be bad. So you're not going to make a lot of money if you have a coupon with that, because it should happen. Hopefully Villa will be safe.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to calculate the odds right now. See if I can't figure it out really quickly for you. But yeah, there's a very good chance that Villa are safe as of this weekend. It's not even without them winning, they could secure safety this weekend, which thank God.
Yeah, let's talk about the match. It's Saturday at home against Hull City, 3 o'clock local time, and Hull, they're in 13th. They've played 37 points with a -9 goal difference. Villa's still 16th, 35 played, 35 points, and a -17 goal difference, which we've just seen dropping drastically.
Remember when we
in the
thought they
past.
could get to 0?
Yeah, I don't think they can blame us for like jinxing that or something, because
No.
that'd be
3-4-1
serious.
And 3-4-1 defeats. That's
Yeah,
unacceptable.
definitely. That's a good way to put it, I think. Hull have had a good season. Let's give Hull credit, because they've been good.
Yeah, and they've been better than you would have expected from a newly promoted
Exactly.
side, with what they have to work with.
It's kind of like what happened with Norwich and Swansea. Really, I think they're more similar to those clubs in that than they are to. And I guess you could say the same for Palace. Palace and Hull this year have done really well.
Yeah. That said, while Hull have definitely had a half-decent season, their away form is atrocious.
Which is what you'd expect from newly promoted sides, especially like Crystal Palace. That Selhurst Park, it's really a great place for Palace. And Hull, yeah, like you were saying, much better at home, which is lucky, I guess, that it's at Villa Park.
Yeah, so Hull on the road are 3-3-11 this year. So what's that? 12 points out of 17 times 3 is 30, 51. 12 points out of 51 possible.
Yeah.
That's a bad showing right there.
So they have 25 points at home then, so that's pretty good.
Yeah,
I think
so they've had a nice showing at home. It's the road that's been the trouble for them.
Yeah, and they're going to be safe, so I'm not sure how much they're so much. I guess there's McGregor, their keeper, who's pretty good. He got injured a little while ago. He's still out for the rest of the year with a kidney injury. And I think I saw that Robbie Brady is out with a groin or hip injury.
Out with a groin.
Yep.
Turns out he's had one all along.
Yeah,
He
him
just
and
counted
Tonev. I think Tonev was out a game in the bench a couple games, working on the groin or something.
Yeah.
If you saw that.
I did. Just
Yeah.
caught him, in the... I suppose the question is, looking at last weekend's Hull-Fulham match, is the fact that Hull were able to come back because they played better in that second half, or was it because Fulham played worse?
I think that was at Hull were home, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the crowd on playing at home had a lot to do with it, but they really did turn it around, which I think you could attribute that a bit, maybe to
Oh, no, I
playing
take
at
that
home.
away. That was at Fulham. My apologies.
Oh, okay.
My apologies. That was bad.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I saw it on Match of the Day, I guess. But I think Hull are not really a team of world beaters, but they play as a team really well,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
and they keep it tight at the back. And Steve Bruce does a good job.
Yeah, so I guess the question is which Hull shows up? The Hull that went down 2-0 to Fulham, or the Hull that then proceeded to outscore Fulham 2-0 for the rest of the match?
Yeah, hopefully not that one, because I can't see Villa scoring more than 2 goals.
Mm-mm. Absolutely
Possibly
not.
for the whole rest of the season combined. We'll probably hit Spurs for 1. City, I guess City's backline isn't great, but you never know. If you don't have the ball for any of it, it's hard to score.
Yeah, I mean, look at what they did to Crystal Palace.
Yeah, they didn't even play well, and look at Yaya Toure. Yaya Toure I think he might be the best player in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And Moses is influential, really. I think Suarez is amazing, but if you have someone in the middle of the park, I think they can do a lot more.
Yeah.
And 20 goals from central midfield is ridiculous.
Yeah, agreed.
A lot of time playing as a defensive midfielder, but yeah. Anyways, it looks like for Villa, Joe Bennett's going to be the only injury.
Which is fine. I mean, we've got Bertrand over there.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the thing. Do you ever let Baker see the pitch again this season?
No.
So
that has to be the last straw.
Kieran Clark starting next to Ron.
Even though Akora is not gonna be. Last I saw his injury update, it was end of April. I looked again today, and it was pushed to May 11th. So that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, he may not play again this season. If he does, it may just be
that's fine.
Some junk minutes on the last day.
Yeah, probably see him in the Texas tour, I guess. But
yeah. So, what do you think? Is the 7,500 to Holte endorsed method of safety possible this weekend?
I think it is possible. I think obviously a lot better of a chance than taking something from City or Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
Coming down, even a draw from those. I think getting a win here would be even easier than getting a draw in either of those matches, I guess.
Yeah. I would entirely agree.
Because both on the road, at City, at Spurs, they're both pretty good at home. City great at home, Spurs decent at home, I guess.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, are you going to go out on a limb and predict a win then?
Might as well. I think it's the last game of the year that we actually can predict a win. I think maybe 2-1.
Our last chance to curse the team?
Yeah, might as well take it.
Yeah, I was going to say 2-1 as well. I think they can do it. I think they can pip this win out of nowhere. That said, I'm actually probably going to be ecstatic if they just get a point.
Yeah, I think a point will do the business.
Yeah, agreed. I honestly think that 35 is still safe, but 36 would make me feel better, and 38 would make me dance around happy.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them get that full win this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I think really that even if you hate Lambert, if you're within 100 miles of Villa Park, you have to get to the stadium.
Oh yeah, absolutely. God, I wish I could be there for that match.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the biggest game of the season. The other two games, I think, could be more important, but they're increasingly less of a chance that you could win. Exponentially less.
Yeah, and Villa have a very legitimate shot of making the last two matches not matter this weekend, and that would be the best thing.
And that's what matters, because then you could play some youth kids and have them get thrashed by City and Spurs or something. I don't know. Better.
Sorry, we just brought you up for your first team experience. Now get your hearts broken.
Well, it doesn't matter because you can tell them that. Just go there. It doesn't matter what happens.
Yeah, that's true.
If you beat City, like, cool.
Yeah, and if you don't beat City, no one's going to blame you except for
Just as
Liverpool.
cool, almost. I don't know.
Yeah, Liverpool fans will be pissed at you, but...
Yeah, that'd be kind of funny.
I think we need to get back in touch with Connor. If Villa managed to nab anything from City, what sort of thank you letters do we expect from Liverpool fans?
Yeah, probably a couple, I think, because that'd be monumental if Villa beat City. That would eliminate them before the final day, which would be relieving because Chelsea also may be eliminated before the final day, I guess.
It is sort of astonishing. This is, I guess, back to title talk, and maybe not the way we wanted to end. But
Chelsea have West Brom this weekend?
Yes. No, Chelsea have
Sorry,
Norwich
Arsenal,
this
West Brom.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chelsea have Norwich this weekend. Now, what really kind of amazes me is for as crappy as Villa have been this year, look at how much it changes the table if you take away a few of their results. If, for instance, City don't give up a 2-goal lead and beat Villa in their first meeting, then suddenly they're at 80 points with a match in hand.
Yeah.
If Chelsea don't lose to Villa in that shambolic match, they're at 81 points. If Liverpool can manage a win rather than a 2-2 draw, they're at 82.
Yeah, but I think Liverpool were also a bit lucky to get the 1-0 at the beginning of the year. They caught Villa in between.
Oh yeah, and I think Chelsea were
Right
a bit
after,
lucky to
yeah.
get their win at the beginning of the year too.
Exactly. That was when Villa were playing the best football. I mean.
Yeah, but still, it's kind of amusing to me to take a look at this and say, what would happen to this table if you took Villa out of the picture? And suddenly that title match would be that title race would be totally different.
Definitely. So.
And it's kind of fun that Villa have the chance to do it one more time before the season is out.
Yeah, plus maybe actually win against Spurs and take them out of the Europa League, maybe.
Would not be a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean.
Conor Dowley just G-chatted me and said the answer is all of the thank you letters, all of them ever. So.
Well, at least you can make someone happy.
So. Well, that's all I've got for today.
Yeah, same. I think the news of Zola was kind of surprising. I think maybe we'll be seeing a bit more news kind of in that general area, and as well as we're gonna have a lot of transfer rumors, I guess, starting up soon, winding down the end of the year. So, but yeah, we both predicted 2-1 wins. We'll see how that goes. We'll have all the coverage for you.
I'm gonna be so mad at ourselves when it's a 4-1 loss.
Yeah, but just like hedge your bets or something. I don't know. It's almost predictable at this point. So.
Yeah, put money on the Villa win and on the Villa 4-1 loss.
Well, neither of them will happen. Then it will be a 0-0 probably because the old double jinx, I guess. But yeah, I mean, thanks for joining us this week. As always, remember still on iTunes, Stitcher, BTR, as well as YouTube, and all the Liverpool fans. If you're still here, thanks for staying with us all the time, even though Connor's not here. And yeah, thanks to Conor Dowley from the LFC Offside for joining us for the title talk. So hopefully we'll be in the Premier League next year and maybe bring him back on again. So I guess for Robert, I'm Jack. Thanks for listening to the Holtecast.